Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and we figured since it is the holiday season and you're all probably sitting around thinking, what am I going to cook for the holidays? I know we usually do.
We do.
That I would have my mother back to talk about her favorite cookbooks. I'm not someone who reads cookbooks for fun. I used to be, and then when we discovered all of my allergies, it kind of sucked all the joy out of it.
Oh.
But my mother does, so
I
I
love
thought I'd have her on to talk about her favorites. So
I love cookbooks. I've been reading cookbooks for a very long time. It started when I was in my very first library job. One of my tasks was to visit the local nursing home. And there was a cast of characters over there. But one of my favorite curmudgeons, and she was a curmudgeon, was Mrs. Danielson. Mrs. Danielson had had a tough life, but all she wanted were to read cookbooks. But she was quite specific. She only wanted Polish or German cookbooks. Well, there were only so many of those that were published back in the day, and she'd read everything I could get my hands on. So I spent the rest of my time trying to convince her to read other cookbooks, which meant I had to look at them first. And that's when it started. My mother was not someone who collected cookbooks at all. My mother owned one cookbook. This is it. It's older than I am. It was given to my mother as a shower present. I won't tell you how old it is, but it's not going to see 60 again. But I love it. It's part of my childhood. When I open the book, the filthy page, that's the one with my father's favorite chocolate frosting recipe. The one that's missing in the center, that was the waffle recipe because something fell out of the bowl. It's also a lot of fun just to read what people considered haute cuisine in those days. It is still useful in terms of, how long you should cook something. I mean, that's quite useful. But it's just fun. It's old, it's dated, but every now and then there's something there that you think, oh, that sounds pretty good. I think I might like to try that. Anyway, this is a fun book, and when we had to sell my mother's house, this is one of the first things I took out of it because I needed to keep this. Now, this is a cookbook that's even older than the other one. This is one of those anniversary cookbooks. My father was a printer. He ran a press when they lived in Southampton, and this is one of the things that he printed one year. And not to put a finer point on it, he pinched it. It's kind of fun. I really like this only because, well, we did get a really good fudge recipe out of this. This is where my favorite fudge recipe came from. But part of what I like this book is it's so old and everything is kind of handwritten and you have to kind of struggle to read some of the handwriting. Some of the ingredients are hysterical, a can of, but they don't tell you how large a can, so you're not really sure if you've never eaten it, you've never seen it. So, there's that's kind of interesting. And they're all signed recipes from, ladies who lived in Bridgehampton back in the day. And because my grandmother came from out that way, and because my parents lived in Southampton for a time, they're last names that I recognize. Even if I didn't know the families, I recognize the names. And so that's kind of fun for me too, and thinking, oh, I remember where that store was, and they owned that store. So for me, this is a walk through my early childhood. Other than the fudge recipe, there's nothing here that I really want to try. I mean, the meatloaf with grape nuts in it, no thank you.
Ooh.
Not my idea of a good recipe. Some of them might have been born out of hard times, some of these recipes. But still, it's a lot of fun and I enjoy it. And it's just, it makes me happy. It also makes me happy to know my father pinched it. That's just something he would have done.
Oh, happy family
Happy
memories.
family memories, yes. Now, on to something slightly more modern. I have several cookie cookbooks and they're beautiful. This is the one I use all the time. It is falling to pieces. It's held together with tape. It's wonderful. I don't know where my mother found this. I've gotten such joy out of this cookbook. The molasses cookies that you love.
This is the story of my childhood, book.
This cookbook. Well, you can't eat the peanut butter cookies, but the peanut butter cookie recipe is in here. The oatmeal cookie. My gingerbread is famous in this town. Everybody loves my gingerbread. This is where I got the recipe. It's such an easy dough to work with. You can make it with children. You can double it easily and it doesn't alter it. I love this cookbook. It is wonderful. And it's filled with nice little stories as well, and that makes it nice too. Now, a lot of people have, the holidays are coming, and Heather has allergies, my sister-in-law is a vegetarian. Everybody has things like that in their family, and you want to serve a meal that everyone can enjoy. It should be a bountiful table. This is a book that I highlight. I love Anna Thomas. She's done a lot of books, but this is a really, really great cookbook. It's something for everyone. The name says it all: vegan, vegetarian, omnivore. She gives you lots of different kinds of recipes and will tell you, if you do it this way, you can have it, you will make your vegetarian friends and family happy. But eliminate this and your vegan friends will enjoy it as well. And she gives you menus of lots of different things that you can put on the table so that there's something for everyone. And I really love that about this book. In fact, we were just talking this morning. She's got a vegetable cobbler in here that is so delicious. We absolutely love it. But if you've got leftover ham, throw it in. If you've got leftover chicken or turkey, throw it in. It's whatever you've got. She gives you a place to begin, and then you make it your own. And I like that. Probably the best gingerbread recipe I have ever made, because we love gingerbread in this house, came from this cookbook.
Oh, that's the one that I made. I made an allergy-friendly Regency cooking video. I forget exactly what I titled it, but that was the recipe that I used.
It's fantastic. It is so delicious, and it makes a lasagna pan full. I mean, you can feed a lot of people with that, and it makes the house smell so wonderful when you're making it. This is a lot of fun, a lot of new and interesting ideas, and as I said, the title says it all: something for everyone. And that's what the holidays are about. So I love that one. That's one of my very favorites. A classic. You cannot go wrong with Ina Garten. She has written so many books. And everything that I have ever tried from, I can't remember if I've made anything from this book in particular. I have a couple, and then I've borrowed some from the library, of course. It turns out exactly right. She is very precise. She has practiced. You know exactly what you're getting with her. And it always looks like the picture. It always tastes delicious. I love her. She's really wonderful. And she too, she's a chef that makes me happy. I like to watch her on television. She's really terrific, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of her cookbooks. Truly, any library worth their salt has at least 2 or 3. Go and borrow them, and you will find inspiration. Because we also have allergies, we have things. Believe it or not, and I know a lot of people feel strongly one way or the other about Gwyneth Paltrow, but this book...
Back in the day, she was awesome, and this cookbook is amazing.
This is my favorite. I have not liked her other cookbooks, but this is my favorite because it's remembering her father and the things that they used to make together, and it's family happy things. It's wonderful. It's really great. It was one Christmas Eve. We made our entire Christmas Eve from one of her cookbooks. Soup to nuts, and it was delicious, and we all liked it. This is where this is where we get your favorite blueberry muffin recipe. It is a vegan blueberry muffin recipe.
They are so good.
So good. Easy to make, absolutely delicious. They freeze, because I usually make 1 or 2 dozen and I put them in the freezer. They come out of they're just terrific. That's one of my very favorite recipes. She's got a couple of soup recipes that I really like.
There was When I Could Eat Cheese, that lemon cheesy pasta that was
really
easy.
That was really good. That was really simple. This is where the pea and basil soup came from.
Yeah.
And that you can do that vegan or vegetarian depending on the broth that you use. So, if you're vegan friends, use your vegetable broth, and it's absolutely delicious. Serve it hot or cold. She's got a nice tomato soup recipe in there that we haven't tried yet that I think I would like to. But I like her very much. This particular one. My mother was Italian, and so I don't usually like Italian cookbooks because I have my own opinions and my own ways of doing things.
And we have our own family recipes anyway.
We do. However, I love Marianne Esposito. She is wonderful. I like all the stories that go along with the recipes. She gives you menus, which I really like. She kind of cooks like my mother, sort of.
I thought she was grandma when I was 1 year old and couldn't see the television very well.
She sat there absolutely convinced it was my mother, and I kept saying to her, she's not wearing glasses. Does that look like Grandma's kitchen? But she was happy. Grandma was on the television.
I probably needed glasses, and I
you
tell.
Probably didn't. We didn't know until you were 3.5. But nonetheless, she's lovely. She used to be on public television a lot. I don't think she is anymore, but she was also friends with the children's book writer and illustrator Tommy DePaola, and sometimes he would show up on her show and cook with her, and that was fun. I loved that. You were usually taking a nap at that point, but nonetheless, I like some of her recipes, and this is my Grandma Galasso's recipe, and this is my grandmother Esposito's recipe, and this is Grandma Esposito's neighbor Mrs. Whoever's recipe. I like those kinds of things, and I've made a couple of her recipes. This is where we get the spaghetti and cauliflower that came from her. That broccoli bread that I used to make, that came from her.
Okay. Yeah.
There's I've done a riff on her chicken recipe, a couple of her chicken recipes. I've kind of looked at and thought, well, I like it better this way, and so I made it my own. But she was the inspiration, because you get tired of eating things the same way. I really like what she does, and I like her food philosophy. Like most Italian people, you like to make sure there's always something in the house in case you have company. She can help you there. It's really very nice. I like her a lot. I have a couple of Lydia's books, but this is my favorite because it's Italian American. Lydia's got a couple of books that are really good. She's got Celebrate Like an Italian, which is a fun book, which I don't own, but we have it at the library. She's got, I'm trying to remember some of the other titles. She's got one that's regional cooking, different regions of Italy, which is really a lot of fun. This I really liked. I like her. I've always enjoyed watching her on television, especially when her mother was cooking with her. Now, of course, as her mother is gone, she has her grandchildren on the television show with her. So it's a whole family thing, and her, tutti a tavola a mangiare, everyone to the table and let's eat. And I like that. I mean, that's what Thanksgiving is for, to decide what you're going to have for Christmas Eve and Christmas dinner.
Which we didn't do.
We didn't do that.
We need
this
to do
year.
that.
Yeah, but anyway, most Italian families, that's what Thanksgiving is for, is to discuss what you're going to do for the next holiday, and that's, but she's really good. She's very practical. Nothing is too difficult. For me, I look at it and think, oh yeah, I can do that, because it's a style of cooking that I'm familiar with. But even if you're not familiar with it, I think she makes it very accessible. And I think if you would like to try your hand at Italian food and you've not done so before, and if you've only enjoyed Italian cooking when you've gone out to eat at a restaurant, this is the book that you're going to. This and Marianne Esposito, they make it very accessible, very easy, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So, love Lydia. I actually met her once. Remember, Roseanne and I went, she was at, we have a local food store in Connecticut, Stu Leonard's, and they invited her to do a book signing. Was this the book? No, I think it was the other book. No, it was the other book that she signed. But nonetheless, she was very gracious, and I enjoyed meeting her. I think it has been established that we are all Anglophiles in this family. This is one of my very favorite books. Great British Cooking, A Well-Kept Secret.
By Jane Garmy.
Yeah, she's wonderful. I love all of the stories behind all of the recipes, and some of them have some pretty crazy titles. But it's fun, it's easy, it's delicious, which is the most important thing. There's a recipe for summer pudding and custard in here. Oh my goodness.
So good.
Yes, poor Heather. We should try it with the oat milk. We've not done that. We could try custard.
I don't know if it would bind the same way.
Give it a try. It couldn't hurt. But really good. There's a recipe for sticky toffee pudding in there, which if you have never had, oh my goodness, one of our very favorite desserts. A couple of good vegetable recipes I've gotten out of here. My husband's favorite pea recipe, sherried peas. Whenever I put that out on the table, people love it, and it's so easy. My mother-in-law, who hated peas, had seconds. So this is a fun book. Lots of history, really good recipes, easy, practical, love it. Kind of hard to find, though. This is something that I would almost classify as a cozy read.
It is. I think I brought it home from college.
I think
I
so.
had discovered it in college, and I said, you have to read this.
Yeah, and it's Celebrate by Pippa Middleton, Kate's sister. It's sweet. It's fun. I don't know how practical it is. She lives a life that's very different from the rest of us. The Middletons are, minor aristocracy at this point. But I think they always had money. I think they worked very hard, and I think they've always had money. But the recipes are fun. It's seasonal. She starts with the autumn, and she talks about, things to do for Halloween and the run up to Christmas. And for them, of course, bonfire night is a big deal. and then everything they do for Christmas and what to do for Valentine's Day and how to celebrate different ideas for celebrating Easter. And, and then we move on to the summer with summer picnics. And let me tell you, the Brits do a really good picnic. None of this ham sandwich business. Oh no, they have a lot of really interesting things that they put in their picnic hampers. And that's kind of fun, and I really enjoy that. Ideas for camping. It's just a really fun read. I don't know that I've made anything from it, but it brings me great happiness and joy. I really love reading this cookbook. It's beautifully illustrated. It's got some really good ideas. I've used a few of her ideas, but a fun book, and I highly recommend it. And then, of course, if you're going to do British cooking, you have to have Mary Berry.
The queen.
The queen. She is wonderful. What I love about this cookbook is because, cooking for Heather and her allergies, there are a lot of things that I can just make for her that I don't have to alter very much, which I love. Beautiful ideas. She's got them organized into tray bakes, which is a phrase I was not familiar with, and that's just a much larger cake. She's got
kind of a sheet cake.
A sheet cake sort of a thing, something that you would bring to a bake sale is how she describes it. She's got, the chocolate ones, and then the standard British ones, and then she's got a section on bread and buns, and I use a lot of recipes from this book. We use so many of them, and of course, if it calls for whipped cream, no. If it calls for strawberries, maybe I can substitute something else. But that's what I like about this book, is it makes it easy for me to make substitutions to feed Heather, which is really a great thing, because you need a piece of cake every now and then, and this book provides that. Our favorite chocolate frosting recipe now comes from this book, and it's terrific. And anyone I've ever served it for wants the recipe and asks for more, and it's easy. So I highly recommend Mary Berry in general, and this book in particular. I really like her.
And you've said as well that it's written in a very straightforward way.
Oh,
she doesn't
very
fuss.
simple. She does not fuss. And in some of the recipes she said, this is easy for a child to do. And in fact, my 8-year-old neighbor came over and tried it out. And I thought, okay, she's inviting the neighborhood children in to try out recipes. I like her even more. Yeah. And it's a very straightforward book if you're, if you haven't cooked a lot, or if you're purchasing a gift for someone who doesn't bake a lot but would like to. This is a pretty good book for a starting point. Okay, now this is somebody not a lot of people know about, and I don't even know how I found out about him.
At least not in the U.S.
Not in the U.S. I think he's quite popular on the other side, but I love Hugh Fernley Whittingstall.
Yes.
He's funny as hell. He has a lot of he's very much organic. He likes to do farm to table. He's very big on responsible meat purchasing. Using every part of the animal, not necessarily something that I get into, but other people might. This book is just a lot of fun recipes, good ideas for breakfast, good ideas for packed lunches, nice ideas for dinner. I've used a few of them, and they're really good. He has cute little illustrations throughout. He fancies himself something of a cartoonist. I like him. It's not fussy. It's definitely not fussy. And I think that's what appeals to me about a lot of these British cookbooks, is they're not particularly fussy. It's good, wholesome food. They really do concentrate on the whole farm to table and do the best you can. And they recognize that not everyone can do everything. And, but they give you good ideas and good places to begin and good things to think about. And, oh, I've never tried that. Maybe I will. Here's a recipe that will let me try something new. I like his breakfast recipes especially. In fact, I want to try some of his fruit jams, refrigerator jams.
Okay.
Because one involves cooked apples, and you can eat cooked apples.
I can, yeah.
So I thought that would be kind of fun. And, you can use this, make this for a sauce for a dessert, and what's left over, put in your oatmeal the next day. Different things like that. I don't know. He makes me happy. I don't know what it is. I think because he's British and we are Anglophiles and we'd really like to be there. But this is almost a comfort read for me. Sometimes I will just take it off the shelf and I will sit and read a few recipes before I go to bed, and it makes me happy. I like his books, and this is my favorite.
And he's another reason why I want to do Glyndebourne one day.
That's right.
Is that not only do I love opera, but River Cottage, which is I don't know that it's a restaurant chain, but it's sort of a brand that he runs. They do the catering at Glyndebourne.
Yeah, and I think we were reading about it, and they have they're more aware, I think, in Europe of food allergies. And
I would still have to do a huge amount of emailing and phone calls with Glyndebourne, I think, to get something that I could eat, but I think they would at least be willing to work with me,
Yeah.
where a lot of people in the US are not.
yeah, which we learned unfortunately recently. But nonetheless, this is a really nice book. I like it. Okay. Now, I absolutely adore the next two. I love Jamie Oliver. I think he's a riot. I like his recipes, incredibly unfussy. If you've ever seen his television show, I would hate to have to clean up after him. But I do like him very much, and I've used a couple of recipes out of this book. This is a book that I would, if I were purchasing a book for somebody who's not really very clever in the kitchen or doesn't have a lot of experience, his book, this book in particular, is really nice in that it'll give you an idea for a tomato salad. And it's lovely and it's easy and it's like 2 ingredients. And then if you want to dress it up a little bit, add this. And if you want to make it even more exciting, you could add this. And he gives you ideas for people who maybe are just learning how to cook. It's a great place to start. And he recognizes too that, and he encourages you to use, the best meat that you can buy, responsibly raised and all of that. But he also understands that not everyone can do that. Or maybe it's not available. You just have to buy what's available. So he does a lot of thrifty sorts of meals in this, easy meals to do in this cookbook. He does a lot of quick meals, things that you can put on the table in less than a half hour. And the nicest part about this book was this was something that he did, I forget the name of the community, it might have been somewhere in the north, where he spent a month basically teaching a group of people how to cook, but then they had to promise that they would take these recipes and share them with someone else. And so the movement grew. And there are little stories in there about families who only bought prepared foods, but now they've had a few recipes passed on to them, and they're thinking, oh, well, that was easy. That was delicious. I really like that. I'd never eaten that before, and now I want to try something else. People from all walks of life. I think one of my favorites was the older gentleman who said he'd never had to cook before. His mother cooked for him and his wife cooked for him, and now he was all alone. And he had some recipes passed on to him, and now his goal was to make a roast dinner for his children and grandchildren. And I thought that was really very sweet. And then later on, there was a young man who said he and the kitchen did not get on, and he usually you had to call the fire department essentially, that he was not comfortable in the kitchen. But he learned to make something, and he really liked it, and now he's more interested in cooking. And then later on in the book, you see the older gentleman and the young man cooking together. And I love that. 2 different generations, 2 places, coming from different places in the world, but they were getting along and working with one another in the kitchen, and that made me very happy. I like that kind of thing. And I think that's his philosophy, too, is you can put a meal on the table, even if you've worked all day. You can put a meal on the table if you're on a budget. That's what this cookbook is all about, is you can feed your family, and you can feed your family well for not a lot of money if you think about it and you plan, and he's there to help you. And that's what I like about this book, because I think eating well is very important. I've made a few of his recipes. This is where the vegetable jalfrezi came from. He's got a whole section on Indian food, because, he's British, and they do like their Indian takeaways. And he gives you good ideas and different ways of making it yourself. And let me tell you, the vegetable jalfrezi is really good. It's one of my very favorites. I'll have to make that maybe next week. Okay, and this is my other favorite Jamie Oliver. I own a number of them. I keep rescuing them from the library. But anyway, I love this one. I've made so many things out of this book, and this is fun. It's all of the traditional foods, and he updates a few of them, and there's a little ode to his grandparents. I don't know, this is another comfort read. This book makes me happy.
And I feel like he also highlights the various ethnic communities that have
Yes.
worked their way into becoming traditional British food, like odes to the Jamaican community, the Indian community.
Yes. And what was that? I can't remember the name of the community, the Tamil. Is there a Tamil community in Wales? And he visits them, and he enjoys all of their food that has become part of the Welsh culture. And that's the other thing. He's got a little picture of Paddington Bear in there with a little sign that says immigration is not a crime. Because that's how you get good food. When you invite new people to the table, You learn about other kinds of food, other people's comfort foods, and that's wonderful. I love that. So this is a book I would highly recommend. I really, really like this one. And last, it has been established that I'm very much an Anglophile, my very favorite Christmas cookbook, and I've tried a few of her recipes. It is astonishing to me, the meal that she puts on the table Christmas Day. It is amazing. But she's got a timetable for you, so if you would like to replicate this, or indeed any part of it, start here. And she gives you a timetable so that you can not only get this beautiful meal on the table, but you can enjoy it as well, which is very important, because if you're going to do all that work, you might as well enjoy it. It's beautifully illustrated. She's got ideas for parties. She's got ideas for hors d'oeuvres to bring places, what to do with the leftovers. It's fun. It's really nice. Christmas morning, because she said after you know you're going to eat a great deal, you don't need a lot Christmas morning, but she's got some ideas for you. As I said, beautifully illustrated, another comfort read, a beautiful book, a practical book, which is one of the reasons I like her. She is rather practical, despite everything you might have heard about Nigella Lawson, and it's her turn of phrase that makes it so elegant. I mean, she's tumbling those berries into the pan, and I like her. I've made a number of her recipes, and they've always turned out just right. So I love Nigella. And if you're looking for some Christmas inspiration, this could be the answer to your prayers. And that is that.
And those were just her favorites of the 2 stuffed shelves that we are
3.
looking at across the room.
3. We've
Oh,
moved
God,
up.
you're right,
I've
it is
moved up to
3.
that other shelf. Yeah,
With
I have.
musical anecdotes stuck in there. We need to move that.
We need to move a lot
That doesn't
of things.
belong there.
Yeah. They're fun, and I like it, and I've never regretted it. And I actually have weeded. I've taken a few out. I've given a few away, but there are some that I just can't part with, and these are some of them. And
we might do a part 2 later on,
We could
depending
do a
on
part
how
2.
people react to this
we
one.
could do a part 2. Everybody has their favorite recipes. Everyone has their favorite cookbooks, so these are mine.
Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing.
You're
And
very
I
welcome.
hope that you all have maybe gotten some good ideas, or at least something new to look into potentially.
Yeah. A lot of people now are getting all their recipes online, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I really do like a cookbook, especially an illustrated cookbook. And your public libraries have a lot of cookbooks, and if they don't have what you want, they can probably get it from someplace else, so do ask. Most librarians are very happy to do an interlibrary loan for you, and don't wait till the last minute. Jamie Oliver, I should mention, has a fabulous Christmas cookbook, which I don't own. That's a lot of fun too. If you like, a British style cookbook, if that's something that you'd like, I would recommend his too, but I don't own that one. But it's a lovely read, especially the story about his grandmother. That was a good story.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let us know down below some of your favorite cookbooks, or in any case, some of your favorite cookbook-related memories or recipes. And we'll see you again in another video very soon. Until then, be safe, be well, and happy reading and cooking.
And cooking. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.